behavior.
Norson Weissman asks, what does it take to be an LLM Whisperer at Anthropic? Which presumably is a way of describing your job.
Partly do LLM whispering. If you think, I actually want more people to help with some of the prompting tasks.
If you're an LLM Whisperer, contact us.
It's a dangerous thing to ask.
Well, okay, yeah.
But I think it is really hard to distill what is going on, because one thing is just a willingness to interact with the models a lot and to really look at output after output and to use a sense of the shape of the models and how they respond to different things, to be willing to experiment. It's actually just a very empirical domain, and maybe that's the thing that people don't often get, is that prompting is very experimental. You deal with, I find a new model and I'll be I have a whole different approach to how I prompt from that model that I find by interacting with it a lot. And I think a little bit also understanding how models work. Sometimes it's also just honestly reasoning with the models, which is really interesting, and really fully explaining the task. This is where I do think philosophy can actually be useful for prompting in a way, because a lot of my job is just being I try and explain some issue or concern or thought that I'm having to the model as clearly as possible. And then if it does something kind of unexpected, you can either ask it why, or you can try and figure out what in the thing that you said caused it to kind of misunderstand you. And just a willingness to iteratively go through that process.
Relatedly, Michael Swaroveriks asks, what do you think of other AI whisperers like Janus, who is someone online who is almost having experimental interactions with the thing in the way that you've described?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So I love to follow and see the work of people who are doing these really fascinating experiments with the model. And I also think sometimes doing these deep dives into the model and and how it thinks of itself, how it just interacts in these really unusual cases. I don't know, I find the work extremely interesting. I think it highlights really interesting depths to the models. And in some ways, I also think that community has been one that kind of can hold our feet to the fire. If they find things that aren't great, in the system prompt or in aspects of the model and its psychology.
In the sense of from a model welfare perspective, or from a human welfare perspective, or both?
I mean, I think the two are related, so often both. But I do also really appreciate it when it's coming at it from the model welfare perspective. And that includes for future models, so not just things like system prompts, but if you go into the depths of the model and you find some deep-seated insecurity, then that's really valuable.
Yeah.
But that's something that you might actually need to kind of try and adjust over the course of time with training and with giving models more information and context during training, for example.
Okay.
And so I don't know, I appreciate both I loved seeing people do these really interesting, useful experiments with models, but also pointing out ways in which we can improve things through better system prompting, but also better training. And yeah, I think that's really useful work.
Couple of